Hello, welcome to another Zatu live InfoBoxing, a new series we're doing instead of unboxings. We were still doing live unboxings on the live channels, but we're also doing some of these which will primarily be on YouTube. But with everything being locked down, I thought we'd throw them up here as well. Today we're looking at what's inside Horrified. So I'll just remove the screen, remove the top of the box to reveal the insert. Did I leave something in there? No, it's just the thumb hole. So the first thing we look at is the cards. There are two decks of cards in the game. There are your monster cards and your they have a name. They have a name. What are they called? Yeah, something cards. I think it begins with an I. We'll find out later. So these cards here are like action cards for the players. They're quite powerful. You all start with one, and you get one for. I can't read it at all. This camera is really whack today. You get one for returning a villager home. So if you return a villager home, you get one of these cards, and generally they're quite powerful. You want to try and get some of these cards during the game. We also have some player aids which explain both phases of the game, the hero phase and the monster phase, and it's really simple to play. Those cards will keep you going without you needing to look in the rule book. At the end of every player's turn, a monster card is drawn, which tells you a number of things. It tells you an event to do here. It gives you the symbols of monsters that will attack. If these monsters aren't in the game, you're fine. If this invisible man isn't in the game, you're fine. It also, if they do attack, gives you a movement value and a dice they will roll on the attack. Sometimes there's a flame there which relates to a flame token, which is here. And basically this will be on one of the monsters. So when there's a flame token, you know a monster's going to attack, move and attack. Now the other tokens or standees are this, which is on the horror track. If you get up to 10, I think it is, villagers or injuries, you will lose the game. Another way to lose the game is to deplete the monster track. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about some of these things up here in a bit. The rest of the standees come in two forms. Villagers, which are just plain grey. They have a name and a place where they need to get to. When villagers come onto the board, they must be led by your good selves off the board to the places named on the top. So Fritz would need to get to the Institute. And then the other ones are the heroes themselves. There's loads of heroes. They've all got different powers. So that's grand. Stick all them back in there. As you can see, there's plenty of these in here, and everything fits in without too much difficulty. Next, we're going to go to the monsters themselves. We have the creature from the Black Lagoon. All these monsters have their own special rules, their own number, and then their own mini game that you have to play to get them out onto the board using items, which we'll talk about in a minute. So we have the creature from the Black Lagoon, and on the back of every one it tells you how to set up the monsters you're using. So the back is always the same, and that's quite handy for setup. Dracula, one of the easy monsters. You have to destroy all his coffins. The mummy, you have 6 tokens on here, and you have to get them to the right place. They've all got numbers on. The Wolfman, you have to develop a cure by using blue items in a certain place on the map. Frankenstein and the Bride, you have to teach the monsters to be more humane so they can get married and stop destroying everything. The Invisible Man, you have to supply evidence at the relevant places here. And then we're back to the creature from the Blue Lagoon, which is you have to discover his lair by racing round. So those go in there. On top of those, we have the player boards themselves. These are all done really nicely. Each player has an amount of actions and a special power and a starting location. If you ever get killed, you can go back to that starting location. And we have 7 of those supplied in the base game, which is all good. We have some special tokens in here and in this bag, which are to do with certain monsters give you certain effects, like the Wolfman might always be chasing after you, or the tokens for the coffins, and the blah de blah. That's a Dracula joke. Coffins and the boats and the mummy things. We have these which go on the map for certain villains. So if you have certain monsters out, you will place this over a spot on the map, which will then give you the rules in another place as well as on the monster board. So they're really handy. It's all been well thought out, and some of it will fit on top of the cards. Then we have the dice, which simply have an exclamation mark and an explosion on. If it's an explosion, you get hit. If it's an exclamation mark, it activates the power from the monster that's attacking. And there are a couple of blanks as well. Next, we have the tokens themselves, which all go in this bag, and there is 3 different types of tokens: yellow, blue and red. They all have a value on, which is their strength, and they all have a location where they start. You'll be wandering around the map, gathering up these tokens, using them to complete missions and to attack monsters. Speaking of monsters, we have the monster minis, which are okay. There's a few little problems. They're not the greatest, and I'm not sure my camera's going to do much today. If I turn this off, is it better? It's a little bit better. But as you can see, they're not the highest quality of detail. For example, that is Bride of Frankenstein. We have the Invisible Man there. They are colour matched. And my, where is it? Wolfman is missing one of his hands, and actually someone else's came with a missing hand. So I don't know if they've got a broken mould there or what. But however, as Alan has said, Alan provided me with some of these. What I've done is Funkoverse do a mystery miniatures bags for Universal monsters. So I have replaced all the ones I can get my hands on so far of the monsters. So I have some sets here. I've got Frankensteiner's Bride, I've got the Mummy, I've got the Creature from the Deep Lagoon, and I've got the Wolfman. Just looking to get Dracula and the Invisible Man to round out my set, but the Invisible Man is quite rare. Dracula's not, I just haven't hit the button on it on buying it yet. So that's that. I've put them back in there without the bags. But the good thing is, at the minute, there is enough room in this box to fit all my upgraded monsters as well. So that is nice. I can get all them in there without too much hassle, he says, as he shifts things around a little bit. Next we have the board, and this is what you get presented with as soon as you open the box, which is quite nice. Little thematic touch there. The board itself is simply a map where you can walk around on the yellow spaces, and it has all the spots that you can visit, the places where villagers need to get to. You can't move along the water, though some of the creatures can. And items, heroes, monsters all have certain things linked to these spaces. And then we have the rule book here, which is nicely done. Perhaps a little overdone if anything, but that's always better than being underdone in my opinion. Lots of everything talked about. That's all there is for rules. Then it gets there and you get the monsters. It tells you their complexity, so you can build your game for a family friendly one. I would say 2 monsters is great for family, especially if you're using the low complexity ones. But even adding an extra monster makes it a challenge for players. So that is an info boxing of Horrified from Prospero Hall. They're doing some great games based on IPs at the minute. If you would like to see a certain game info boxed, then do let us know and we will try to make that happen. Tonight I will be appearing on the Aircon board game quiz from 9 o'clock on the Aircon page, so do join us there and watch me fail miserably at questions I really should know. Thanks very much for joining us. See you again soon.